Welcome back, everybody, to the World Championship Series Season 1. We are currently in the winner's match of Group C, where one player will move on to the round of 8 and the other will have to face Firecake in the deciders match. Our first player has been doing incredibly well lately, with as recent of a second place finish at Gfinity just last week. He says winning against his opponent will be easy. From Root Gaming, it is Hydra. Hydra will be going up against the only WCS champion in the top 16. His opponent also expressed supreme confidence and said that he has no problems going up against Hydra and is determined to make it to the finals. From CM Storm, it is Polt. Will it be Captain America or will Hydra prevail? Players shake hands. I'm so excited to watch this game unfold, but before then, I hear Apollo is waiting with a special guest.
Thank you very much, Smix. Yes, I do have a very special guest with me. David Kim joins us on the English panel. Thank you very much for joining us, David.
Thank you for having me.
You have been over on that French stream. We've seen you there doing a bit of casting, but you also revealed more information on the new Terror unit that's coming into Legacy, but we haven't heard anything about it because we've been doing all this commentary and talking.
So it's actually not a unit that's coming. It's something that we're testing right now internally. We've been play testing with it for maybe a week or two now. It's an air unit built off of the starport. It has AoE damage and it attacks air only, but the ability that it has is you can set up to attack ground. And if you set up, you can attack ground, but you can't attack air anymore. So you have to counter it differently depending on which mode this flyer is in. And another thing is when it's set up and attacking the ground, it does siege range damage. So you can use it to pick off base defenses, things like that. But the main purpose of the unit is to counter things like mass mutalisks or Vikings, things like that.
Yeah, I think that's been an issue possibly in Heart of the Swarm, especially when you're looking at mech too, right, Todd?
Yeah, we've seen situations where there are a lot of mutas and it can be hard to deal with them. I wonder though, like how much does it cost this unit right now, and how much supply does it take?
Right now it's a little bit less expensive than the Thor, but more expensive than any other. Minus the battlecruiser, I guess. Okay. It's a little more expensive than the Banshee right now.
Is it going to be a fast unit? Because I heard you said it was going to be a small unit, so I assume a small unit is really quick.
It's pretty fast, but it's slower than Phoenixes and Mutalisks, but faster than any other air unit in the game.
All right, do you not have like a set yet, or are you trying to give us a riddle a little bit? You didn't like decide exactly on all those things yet?
No, because how the design process goes is we usually come up with an idea, test it a little bit, polish it a little bit more, and repeat that process over and over. So it's still in its rough stages, so it's not ready for the beta yet, but it's something that we're working on.
Something you're working on. Thank you very much for talking to us about that, and we may have an opportunity to do a little bit more across these next few days, David.
Yeah, for sure.
But let's talk about this matchup that we have coming up. We have Polt versus Hydra. Let's talk a little bit about Hydra first. Reached his first final last weekend at Gfinity, and is on form. He's actually playing very, very well recently. He's got pretty decent stats in WCS overall, as you can see here, and he's picked up that really good win against Firecake just in the round of 16. Now in the winners match going up against Polt. What have you seen from Hydra? I mean, he used to play for CJ Entus way back when. He recently moved to Root Gaming. Have you spotted anything in his play, David Kim?
I mean, you guys are the experts at analyzing the play, but last weekend during Gfinity, I was watching it over the online. But Hydra looked really strong, so I'm a little afraid for Polt, even though he's one of my favorite players out there.
Yeah, he's got super strong mechanics. That's something that we've spotted a lot from him. He's actually the player with the highest APM in this tournament, at the top of that with about 450 average in the round of 32, which is huge.
Oh, wow.
You think this is a tall task for him going up against Polt here, Fenner?
No, I think this is going to be a strong game for Hydra. I think Polt maybe even be the underdog here, as crazy as it sounds. Do you think the same, Todd?
I don't know. Like I said before, I feel like Polt, might still kind of be the favorite. I'm not sure yet. Like, again, I'm not the TVZ expert. You kind of remind me of myself with Protoss a while back, where I always will predict that Protoss will win. Like we talked about Cyril, you're like, yeah, Cyril hype train. And now we talk about Hydra against Polt. You're like, yeah, I think Hydra is gonna take Polt easily.
And look what happened to Cyril when Fenner said that. He went out of the tournament pretty fast.
Well,
So let's hope that doesn't happen here for Hydra, or it may be something that the French crowd would like to happen to Hydra.
yeah, maybe the French crowd would.
But
Not me though.
let's have a look at Polt then, and focus a little bit on Polt's been around forever.
Yep.
He's played in so many tournaments. He's won multiple championships. He's a 2-time WCS champion. I remember the only remaining champion left in the WCS. You can see those are his stats, which we brought up a little bit earlier as a mistake. But 31 wins, 6 losses.
Crazy stats right there.
Crazy stats.
And the thing is, they're from a long time ago. Some of those losses have been pretty recent, right? Because we know he's been a bit weaker recently than he was like a year ago when he was just dominating everything.
Right. But he's starting to turn things around again. I mean, this season he's undefeated, even though it hasn't been the smoothest of rides. David, I'm going to bring you into this again. Over the years of following StarCraft 2, and I know you watch a lot of the high-level tournaments, if not all of them, what has stood out from Polt as a player? Not right now what he's doing well, but what is something that you've looked at Polt and said, okay, this is what he's really, really good at when he plays my game?
I think the most memorable moment for me for Polt is during that time when all the Protoss players, or all the Terran players were saying Protoss is impossible to beat. Polt was actually the only one winning tournaments.
Right,
And he really stood out. And I remember talking to him about it maybe last year or something. He told me he kind of prefers that his race is weaker because that was the time when he was strong, personally, right? So I think that's one of the coolest things about Polt. And the other guess that I want to do for this series is that he's going to go bio.
Yeah,
Not mech.
Yeah, I think that's safe to say with Polt over the history here. Let's take a closer look at the maps and see how this could potentially play out here. We've got a lot of new maps coming into this season. Overgrowth, one of the oldest maps, the oldest map actually in the system that's going to be played first. Catalina, and then Vanni Research Station, a map that does favor mech in recent terms due to the layout. What do you think about these maps, David?
I mean, Overgrowth has been in the pool for 3 seasons now. Because last season we decided to keep it for one more season. But the other 2 maps I think are a lot more interesting than Overgrowth because Overgrowth is pretty standard.
Yeah, basic map.
Yeah, and then especially Vanni, we haven't seen a lot of games on it yet, so I'm really excited to see what happens there.
Yeah, Catalina in the middle here, Hydra's pick. And when we look at the stats here, Terran have quite a good win percentage. Last season they were 65% win rate against Zerg and Protoss, and this season they're doing very well as well. The cliff dynamic, the way that medivacs can be used, the airspace. And why do you think that Hydra picked this as his choice here as map number 2 to go to that?
This is a difficult one to wrap my head around. Reapers, like I said, are incredibly strong in this map, and Polt loves to open 3 Reapers. Sometimes he's going to be abusing that cliff. I don't know why. When I see Zerg players play this map, I just don't understand.
I think
from my point of view.
Quite a few times in the past when we've seen somebody like this pick a map, in a matchup where he's not really supposed to pick that map, they had something special prepared. So it could be the case.
Yeah.
All right, well, we'll see how that plays out when we get to it. Let's talk about the matchup, though. Terran versus Zerg. Since we've actually got you up here, let's take a bit of a different approach and a different question. Why do you think over the years, I mean, we can even go back to Brood War, that Terran versus Zerg has been one of the most favored, if not the most popular matchup in all of StarCraft? Why do you think this is?
I think it's because both Terran and Zerg have a lot of large numbers of small units, so you get more skirmishes compared to Protoss matchups. And just the nature of the bailing ad, I think anything can happen, right? Even if Zerg is a little behind, if you have a good bailing connection or even a burrow bailing detonation that happens, you can actually turn the game. So I think those 2 are the main factors why TVZ is one of the most popular matchups.
Is this something that you possibly look at when you are game designing and looking at new units, looking at new races, new maps, working around this kind of aspect, the reason why it's so popular?
I mean, we try to stick to each race's strengths when we design new units and stuff like that. So what we have is kind of what we have, but we do try to talk about maybe in the future, if we were to do a different game, maybe we don't have small, individually strong, but really small in numbers type of race, just for fun. But I think for now, our direction is we want to give each of the races as many tools as possible so that they can play more aggressively and have more action throughout the course of the game.
All right, thank you very much. Last question is going to be predictions. We're going to leave David till last. Todd, you first.
I think I have to go for Polt. Yeah, I really like Hydra, and I would be happy if he wins as well, but I'm going to go and say Polt wins 2-1.
I'm going to go with Hydra on this one. He's just so fast, and it's a mechanical matchup. 452 APM.
Yeah.
He's mine. He's my pick.
And then you have to choose which way you're going to go, because these are tied up 1 apiece. Which one?
Yeah, I think they're both winners because they're both playing StarCraft 2, and they both got to round of 16 WCS.
Yeah.
So.
But
you gotta make a pick.
Who do you
David.
think?
Personally, as a person, I like Polt a little better. I know him much better too, so I wish Polt wins.
Well done, Todd. You take this one. Sorry, Fenner. We'll see if it comes true or not. Thank you very much, David, for joining us here on the desk. Hopefully see some more of you across this weekend, bring you onto the stream a little bit more. But it's now time to start the winners match of this group. Hydra versus Polt. Let's get it on.
Thanks so much, guys, and thanks so much, David Kim, for coming to answer some questions, backing me up on the Catalina hype train over Overgrowth, a map that's been around for a very, very long time. But you know, I have to say, looking at those guys' predictions, Hydra's a very strong guy in this matchup, very mechanical, and I do want to give him a slight edge in this series.
Me too, man. Me too. We've both been on the Hydra hype train since day 1 of WCS, and obviously in the round of 32, when he dropped his first series, we looked at each other in the break. We were like, what's happening, Nate? Like, this is not supposed to happen. But I really think that he has bounced back so incredibly well ever since dropping that first best of 3. Smick said it as well. You know, he's been on fire. He's playing awesome. Polt is a clear underdog for me going into this series. I am totally with Fenner, though, on the fact that I don't understand why people keep playing Catalina. Like, it never goes well for them, or almost never goes well. I would say 1 out of 5, 1 out of 6 times, maybe, you know, the non-Terran player does win. But in general, I think there are better maps out there. We will see. First map is going to be played on Overgrowth, though. I think a map that both players can dream, and this should be awesome. Maybe on paper, this is the biggest match that we've had so far in WCS Premier League Season 1.
Now, a lot of people would have called this match to be a potential final, Rotterdam, when the season first began. And our first player in the southwest position, in red, representing Cooler Master Storm, he is Polt!
Polt has been incredibly relaxed over the last few days. Unlike most of the other players, he's just chilling backstage with Arch, and we're like, hey, Polt, and he's just watching all the games. Anyways, his opponent on the right top side of the map, representing Root for Root, it is Hydra.
Hydra opening up with, interestingly enough, a very fast drone scout, and he's actually going to rally himself towards Polt's base. This does not look like he's going for a very quick gas build, or excuse me, gold build. This is interesting to me because Polt is not someone who is historically known for proxy barracks, so I want to believe that Hydra has some sort of weird intentions with this drone. At least I want to. Polt just doesn't really cheese, so this is a little bit perplexing to me.
Now, Nate, we have some background information on these two because we actually shared a cab with them.
That's right.
And I felt that Polt was smack-talking Hydra a little bit.
We shared the train with these guys.
That too. And I felt that Polt was trying to get into Hydra's mind a little.
Oh boy. We're talking about that. Well, when we asked them about their experiences in terms of like traveling and whatnot, we asked them because these guys go all over the world competing in these tournaments, and I guess this drone scout was just to be safe by Hydra. But yeah, we were asking them, when you go around like this, traveling so many tournaments, Polt has of course been to a lot more foreign tournaments, as Hydra played in a lot of the Kespa-based tournaments for the last couple of years, or at least when he started playing StarCraft 2. And Polt was the one that was like, yeah, it's like, well, I don't really have a problem doing a lot of travel. And was it Hydra that says like, no, not really as much of a fan. There's a lot of moving around.
And Hydra's like, oh no, this one is pretty hard, like airplane and then the train. He's like, not so ideal. And then Polt is like, no, it's absolutely no problem. And then they looked at each other, and Hydra was like kind of smiling awkwardly. And I was like, oh, wow, Hydra, I feel like he's trying to get into your mind a little. And then like Polt just started laughing and Hydra started laughing. It was really awesome. And then we were like, well, that is the biggest trash talk that we'll see all weekend long.
The most fun trash talk these guys guys have was when they were asking me while we were waiting for the train, like, so who else at this tournament do we worry about? It's like, who's the biggest guy? I'm like, well, you two are probably a lot of people's picks for the final with 4GG, which they had some words about. Both of them seemed pretty confident if they had to go up against him at some point.
That's awesome. These are two really great guys. They're very well spoken and they're so cool. I was very lucky to visit Hydra in his root gaming house a couple of weeks ago in Northern California, and it was very nice to see. He seems to be very well adjusted, man. He moved to America with one purpose. He wants to do what Polt was doing in 2013, and that is winning WCS Premier Leagues or Premiership tournaments.
Yeah, and he's actually had a really good start so far in that career playing in North America, at least playing outside of the Korean scene. Polt, this game has opened up with 3 Reapers. Fenner brought this up that it would be an opening we would see quite a few times, and we saw him use it against Firecake yesterday, and you liked the follow-up, of course, of going into the 3rd Command Center. I think this is a fantastic choice. Polt does not really go for the aggressive builds that we've seen players like 4GG do, but he does make very good use of these Reapers to take the energy out of this Queen, and he has the potential to pick that off if Hydra is not careful.
This is already a different style that Polt is showing us, though, than he did against Firecake. And I often feel, Polt used to be a very, very one-dimensional player, right? Like, he used to always go for the same build. That's something that he was able to get away with in the later stages of Wings of Liberty and maybe even early HOTS, but on a certain point, that was just not going to cut it anymore because he realized that everybody started to blind counter him. So he's starting it switching up a little more, and I do feel that his builds are often a little more greedy, a little more economic when he's going up against very big names, and I feel that that's exactly what's going on over here.
Yeah, if Polt has one thing that kind of sticks with his builds pretty much throughout his entire career, at least in the last few years that we've seen of it, it's that he likes to go for these builds where he gets his fast 3rd Command Center, this quick tech play of some variety. Sometimes it's a fast Marauder and a Viking, sometimes it's a quick Widowmine drop, but he delays the upgrades a fair amount and he has a lot of units active on the map. So trying to push Polt early on is usually a bad idea, especially if you actually kill anything, because he somehow gets better when he's behind. But he's going for this starport. And, well, there's no tech lab for anything like a Banshee. This medevac play opens up a lot of opportunity to get some damage done early on.
This matchup has definitely been a roller coaster ride for Polt as well, because he used to be so damn solid in it. But you remember the summer of 2014 when he was just completely lost in a matchup for a couple of weeks, where I believe he lost 6 out of 7 matches against Scarlet in the Red Bull Battlegrounds North America. Like, that was a really dark period. Of course, a very difficult map pool back then for Terran as well. Definitely worse than the current one. But it's been an interesting journey. Overall, right now, I feel that Polt has sort of stabilized. Loses a fresh Mew over there. That's a very sweet pickup for Hydra.
That's a huge loss for Polt, as that's 270 minerals that he won't be mining for a very long time. He's open with this medevac. He's gone actually into a quick armory. So Polt, this is actually one of the build orders that a couple players were talking about when we were watching Hydra's games at Gfinity. He dismantled Bunny 2-1 and Fantasy 2-0. And a lot of people are saying that big Hellbat pushes were the way to deal with him. Hydra's just decided to go for a lot of Roaches, Banelings off to base. I don't think this drop play should really do too much for him. He's actually got to bring everything home to defend.
He's been getting so many sweet hits already on these Hellions as well. Polt's probably a little bit confused about, like, why are you doing this? There are 20 Zerglings streaming across the map as well. There is a Baneling nest too. Polt might actually have to evacuate the low ground. He doesn't even have a bunker over here, Nate.
Yeah,
and
Hydra.
This is the game where he doesn't have his safety Marauder either.
Hydra just kept tabs on everything Polt was doing all game long. These Hellions being pushed back by the Lings. The Roaches can cut off the rest of them. And Hydra's basically just said, I know the way you like to play. This isn't too different from what you did against Firecake. You went for the medevac instead of the Banshee. Well, guess what? A Banshee would have been a lot better against me.
Yes. I mean, that is a lot of... Oh, Widow Mines? No. There's no way that Hydra would make a mistake.
Shouldn't be able to detonate. His goal should be to just knock down that reactor, since SCVs can't get close enough to it to actually repair it. He's going to move up. He blows the reactor up, blows up the depot. He's going to run inside the main base of Polt. Now, there are 2 Widow Mines. He does have the bunker there behind this, and with a couple of Marauders, Polt should take a lot of damage, but it's totally possible for him to survive this.
I mean, these mines actually doing a serious amount of work, and there is still a full HP bunker as well. Of course, a lot of SCVs will go down in the process. He just needs to keep that bunker alive. You remember the IEM bunker from Young against Solar, I think it was.
Yeah.
Well, that's not going to be like this, as this bunker falls almost immediately. But most of these Roaches are very low on HP. Yes, he's losing a lot of workers, but this is a triple orbital opening.
Yeah, Polt was able to squeeze out a Banshee in the midst of all of this.
Wow.
With some great sustained damage.
Hold.
Polt is, he still stands, and he's down to 21 SCVs versus 43 drones.
That's really not that bad.
Yeah, we don't have a lair. And we have a very late third base for Hydra. So Hydra is going to be looking to stay active on the map as much as he possibly can with the Zerglings that he made as a follow-up. He's actually going to run in. If he cuts down these mules, this is a really nice pickup. 4 fresh mules of Polt. He cannot afford to lose these. Run some of the Lings into that mine, trying to bait the shot. And he will, but those mules survive. Very, very important for Polt.
Extremely important. Otherwise, it does truly hurt that he's down 20 workers. Now he's down 30 workers, so it's definitely time for Polt to strike back a little bit. He does want to slow Hydra down. Interesting position there to morph the layer, Nate. Not the main, but base number 3.
Yeah, that's a bit weird. Perhaps Polt might scan or attack the main base and be like, oh, you're not getting a lair. Maybe I'm being all in, but the Banshee sees a lair's morphing, so I guess it just kind of makes it a bigger target, in all honesty. Hydra started up Burrow, then he canceled it, so it seems he's not 100% sure where he wants to go with this.
Hellions. Okay. So he's going to drop 3 Hellions in the main. That's kind of cool because there is a chance that Hydra is repositioning his queens as well. Doesn't have anything in the main base currently. There was 1 Royce, but that's just being misrallied. So the units are a little bit out of position. I don't think that Hydra has vision of that tiny little quarter either. So this should be something that Polt could work with. He's morphing them into Hellbats. He definitely needs to get a drone or 5 to 10, I'd say.
Yeah, a drone or 5 to 10, Roddy, I think is very well put it. He wants to get a lot of damage done so he can bring this game back to parity, but the Queens are able to get in. These Banshees do not have cloaks, so he should be able to handle these without too much trouble.
Yeah, the Banshee, those are Zerglings, I guess?
Oh, those Hellbats getting close to the drones, but 17 drones in production. He's like, yeah, I'm not really worried about this. Your Banshee didn't do anywhere near enough, and he's actually pushing the medevac away. In fact, he might be able to pick this off. Polt does not want to lose this.
The Ignite Afterburner should be up real soon, so he's able to get the hell out of there. But I think he should maybe... No, too many roaches, I guess. I won't say maybe he should still drop them and get a couple, because the economy of Hydra is truly sick. Like, yes, Polt was on triple orbital, and yes, he's been slow, but steady catching up. But he's still 25 workers behind. Upgrade-wise, we're sort of even. Spire is halfway done. Like, it's not the worst position I've seen a Terran ever been in, but it's definitely not as sweet as I think it could have been after that pretty damn good hold by Polt early on.
I mean, the Polt of ye old ancient lore says that when he's in a position like this where we would call him down and out, this is where he becomes, you know, a monster and just beast modes through and carries the game back. He has those power play units on the field. He has a good amount of Widow Mines, a couple of big detonations. If Hydra decides to get aggressive, could be really big for him.
Yeah, those were the glory days of Polt, his TVZ, when he was playing those finals against Jadong and WCS America, and he was just absolutely phenomenal. Even in games where he was behind, he just refused to die, and he came back. And then the season after that, he did it again against Bjorn back then. It was absolutely amazing. Bjorn, excuse me. It was absolutely amazing to watch. But, you know, that's a while ago, and it's a different day and age, and Hydra is a different type of Zerg as well.
Yeah, Hydra is in a very comfortable position. The 1-1 upgrades are not ready at this moment. Polt will be able to push with them completing, but since Hydra already has those, that's not a big concern. The big problem right now, well, actually, I was going to say that push could be a bit of an issue, but he pulls the army back home with this Ling run by. Hydra's done a really good job of getting these Lings in and out of Polt's mineral lines at the start of this game.
Yeah, over and over again. Every single time when Polt is about to start thinking about attacking, or at least wants to attack, wants to do something, wants to have some sort of map presence, there are a couple of Zerglings, and it's always just a few too many to ignore, because if you ignore it, you're going to lose 7-8 SCVs and your mules.
And the reason why that's a big deal, Roddy, is now Baneling speed's going to be finishing up. So while there aren't too many Banelings on the map, at the very least, he's not going to have to fight with slow Banelings against stimmed bio.
And I also want to give credit where credit is due. We've been a little bit critical about Hydra, his creep spread in the past, because against Moro, he was just slacking on that. He was fighting off creep over and over and over again. This time, he had a little bit of freedom, and he definitely capitalized on that. Look at the amount of creep spread that has been spread in this 14-minute, very action-packed game.
Hydra did not start his +2 upgrades, and he's done it for so long. I believe this is, at some point, reaching an intentional status. Okay, now he starts it, but I was thinking he was expecting Polt to push him. He wanted to clean up the army and go for a big counterplay, and he's actually going to move in on top of this army as it's at the edge of the creep. The Widow Mines do not actually hit the Zerglings and Banelings. They hit a Mutalisk, and the Mutalisk soaks up that shot pretty well, sweeps out Polt's army that's out on the field, going for a bit of a counterattack here. There's no Widow Mines in play either, so the Mutas, if they can get these Banelings on the Marines, should be able to clean everything else up.
The reinforcements should be good enough for Polt. He's down a little bit, but he should have plenty of Marines somewhere tucked away. He has a couple of mines over here as well. The mines will, at least one of them will shoot. That's a good shot. Raise the depots, Polt. Oh my god, that's a lot of Zerglings.
And he doesn't have another depot in his man. He never replaced the original when he lost. So once he breaks through these bioforces, he can go straight inside the Polt base, contaminates the factory and one of the barracks. GG. Hydra takes game number 1 against Polt in a pretty convincing fashion. Polt went for a Polt build, but oftentimes we saw Polt in last year, in 2014, do those pushes off of 2 bases and take a slightly late third, because Polt squeezes in this third command center so quickly, he doesn't have the benefit of what he would normally get, that second barracks to help defend against any push like this, and Hydra just capitalized that in stellar fashion.
You know what I also really like from Hydra, other than the multiple run bys, like you said, where he just bought time for himself over and over again. Like, those look like minor things, you know, forcing the Terran to turn around a little bit, save that SCV, save that mule, but that really slows Polt's counter-aggression down so much. But my favorite moment of that game is, like, yes, Polt finally moved out and cleared out the creep, but Hydra was still able to get a fight on creep, despite the fact that there were no active tumors over there anymore. The creep was still there, and the moment that Hydra looked at the army, he's like, yeah, I can probably just roll into that, and that's exactly what he did. That was a great fight for Hydra.
That was a really smart play. Hydra knew that based on the way that game had built up, sure, Polt put out a decent army, but having another wave ready was not something he would have been able to do with all the economic damage that he took throughout the course of the game. And as you said, those run-bys were so important. Getting a few SCVs here, a few SCVs there, never clearing out a whole mineral line, but things like getting that active mule as soon as it drops, denying a lot of resources, hitting that third base, bottom enough time for Baneling speed. Sometimes a Terran, you leave those Marauders and the mines up front without Baneling speed, the Zerg never gets on top of your Marines no matter how hard they try. And Hydra just played that perfectly. Now we're going to Catalina, which should be, you know, if we're like trying to favor maps for players, this should be Polt's map.
Yeah, but this normally, if you look at the 3 maps that Polt is going to play here against Hydra, this has to be a must-win. You won't say like, well, maybe win Overgrowth and Vani and lose Catalina. Like, that's not the way that you look at these 3 maps. Polt has to win this map. Of course, Catalina is a great map to counterattack, and you know it's a great drop map, but it's also a great Mutalisk map. So if Hydra can get to that phase in a game, then it can also be a very reasonable Zerg map. But needless to say, this is the best of the 3 maps for Polt. This is where he's truly going to have to shine and excel.
Yeah, this is one of those maps where that 3 Reaper opening can get a lot of damage done. It's been super popular on this map, especially throughout pretty much the entire map's existence. Like, this was one of the maps that actually brought the 3 Reaper openings back into the meta ever since Heavy Rain was removed from the map pool. But here we are, we're loaded in, we're ready to kick off game number 2 here at the World Championship Series round of 16 winners match. In the left side of the map, we have the blue Zerg player representing Root Gaming. He is Hydra.
And on the 6 o'clock position of Catalina, we have Captain America himself representing Cooler Master Storm. It is Polt. A 2-time WCS America champion of 2013. 2014 was a very reasonable WCS year for Polt as well. He wasn't able to get those back-to-back championships, but he always made it to the quarterfinals at least. So he has still racked up a lot of prize money, of course collected a lot of WCS points as well. Has been at 2 BlizzCons in a row. Of course wants to go for that triple BlizzCon appearance, which I'm not even sure if anyone has done.
Yeah, he's got his sights set, man, as this... It's still a very crazy thing to think about when we look at the way that Polt played last year, that there's somebody we see him in a match against that we're like, yeah, we have to favor this guy over Polt. You know, when the WCS regulations, when the way that the format of the tournament was changed, moving into 2015, we saw a lot of the players that were competing in the previous seasons kind of step out. They went back to compete in the Korean League, some of them having a lot of success already. But Polt stayed, he, you know, living and practicing a lot in the United States. Hydra moving over from Korea. Now, as you said, living in California, he's shown up and he immediately became like the top dog.
No, he truly is. He's just an incredibly scary Zerg player, a former former Pro League monster. That's what he was.
Yeah.
With a pretty damn good record. We had the pleasure of meeting him at one of the Red Bull Battlegrounds events, Red Bull Battlegrounds Global, where he didn't go all the way, but that was the first time we met him in person. We're like, hey man, this guy's really chill. He's so happy.
Really
he's
good
smiley.
English too.
Yeah, he's so happy. He's so smiley, and he's like willing to talk. Like he actually opens up in conversations, and he's incredibly good. So from that point on, we were like, man, this guy's awesome. And then the moment he joined Root, then you're like, oh, now I can see where this is going. And this, of course, should be a phenomenal year for Hydra, because no matter how good you are, like a lot of guys like Hydra are incredibly good, but I've never really won a whole lot of money playing StarCraft 2. This year for Hydra, you know, moving to the ES, competing in this WCS Premier League, that is a golden opportunity for him.
Yeah, and it's a really good person to have when you can occasionally get a couple games in on him, is especially a big boon for the root guys. As you know, I know players like Ike has been getting practice games with him, and Supernova especially helping out players like Cats preparing for their matches. So really utilizing the Korean talent as well as they can. But here comes the first Reaper for Polt. He's going to try to use the map's layout to his advantage. Hydra did open pool first with the gas, so Polt should immediately realize there's a potential for Lings to run up his ramp and try to cancel that natural. Another Reaper's going to pop, but I think he should be able to get this SCV and at least delay that command center for a good while.
I'm really surprised. I mean, of course, it's very difficult for Polt right now that he has to look at his natural. At the same time, he's going to end up losing that SCV. He wants to make sure he doesn't end up losing the Reaper. I don't think he's going to get the cancel on this command center. Well,
he might, Roddy.
Well, he's going to get
very,
it.
Very
low.
Oh my God.
God.
Has to cancel his natural. This Reaper will eventually kill off all of the Zerglings, but it doesn't really matter at this point.
Wow.
Hydra has accomplished more than he wanted from this build. If you're lucky, you get to delay that natural. You hit the jackpot, force a cancel. Even though Polt has 3 Reapers, because this Queen opening was so quick, he gets his second Queen out equally fast.
Okay.
And now he can delay any more pressure.
Speed is going to be done rather late, though. It's going to be like 6 minutes, 40 seconds-ish that speed is going to finish up. So Polt has a little bit of wiggle room. Of course, Queens are very good in dealing with Reapers, but these Reapers, they need to get something done over here, Nate.
Yeah, they really need to make a big play. At this point, Hydra secured himself enough of a lead that I really wouldn't mind seeing him plant a creep tumor inside his main base, just so that he can move around with full mobility and not have to worry about these two guys pulling him out of place. Actually, he has a creep tumor in place, so Hydra's he's one step ahead of us.
That's why he's Hydra.
Yeah, he's pretty good.
It's pretty fast, too. Okay, well, I mean, it's safe to say that Polt is in a little bit of pickle right now. He's trying to recover this game by going double command center behind this, so eventually he's still going to have a pretty damn good economy. Of course, for Hydra right now, this is a little bit scary. Sometimes Terrans overreact if something like this happens, and they throw something really crazy at you, but I don't think he's expecting that of Polt. He's going to fly in with the Overlord, already spotted the command center in the natural. Would love to confirm that command center number 3 is going down as well, but he can't confirm that just yet.
Yeah, Hydra actually sees a couple of things that are pretty weird. He knows that there's Reapers on the map because of the way the game started, but he sees the second gas being taken, and he also saw no tech lab on the barracks. So this should tell him that there is a starport somewhere on this map. Polt's not going to hide a second factory to go Blue Flame Hellions. No one's done that build in close to a year.
I love that build, by the way.
It's fun until you play someone who builds a roach, and then your life becomes very painful. So Hydra should be actually anticipating some type of aggression, and I actually really like that he throws this spine crawler up front, because it shows that he's paying attention to what's going on in this game, and he recognizes the options that are available to Polt.
Well, nothing but drones on the production top so far for Hydra, who has 8 Zerglings out on the map and has 4 Queens. No Roach one just yet, so it can be a little bit tricky. I mean, let's not forget that in the previous game, he also got so many free hits up on all these Hellions before the attack even started. He's going to end up losing his first Queen immediately. The Spine Crawler is almost done. If Queen number 2 gets picked up as well, man, this is actually a little tricky for Hydra right now.
Yeah, he took a bit of pressure. He's going straight up to the Spire tech, and at this point, Polt has 2 options, and this creep tumor spreading in the main base actually really makes this much easier to deal with, since Hydra will immediately spot this, even with this Overlord, I guess. So he knows 100% what Polt is doing. He's just going to elevator these Hellions in with the Reaper support, and he could just turn them into Hellbats. It looks like he wanted to poke the water a bit, at least see what was there. And now he's just going to turn into Hellbats and try to make a big play. There is no Baneling Nest, so these Hellbats have a lot of potential. The Spine Crawler is planning itself down now, though.
Yeah, I'm actually a little bit worried over here for Hydra. We'll see how he decides to handle this. He's focusing on the medevac so far, but good micro there by Polt. Does not get that Queen and will get it in the end. He should be able to get another Queen over here, and he, of course, eventually would love to get the Spire, but I don't think that that's possible because of this Spine Crawler.
MVP Spine Crawler dealing a lot of damage. Now, a couple Hellions are going to run into the natural. This is Polt's opportunity to make something big go down, focusing a few of the drones on the
line
gas.
them up.
They're all running away towards that natural. Another 2 Hellions are going to run in, so 6 here, and he could always retreat and try to turn into Hellbats at some point or another. The Zerglings are starting to deal with these, and okay, catches them now on the side, so great job picking those off. The Mutalisks are coming out. What does Polt have to deal with this? 3 Marines and a Viking.
Yeah, but it still is going to take a little while before these mutas actually show up. But the engineering bay has finished now, so you can start throwing down turrets. I would say throw a turret down in both mineral lines and one on top of your production. That's probably what I would. He doesn't have 2 Widow Mines, so that's going to help out a little bit as well. I think Polt is in a really good position. He's up 10 workers. He's on 3 command centers. I think this is a little too ambitious. I don't think he's going to mine of that command center anytime soon. But other than that, I really like Polt's position.
Polt definitely did what he needed to do based on how this game started. I mean, Hydra Hydra made some of the right moves, and he gets the Mutalisk tech out fast. But I tell you what, if he runs into any of these Widow Mines, it's going to be hate in life. He could deny a bit of the gas. Actually, I think he can deny the gas mining here for a little bit of time, as the Widow Mines are trying to catch you in one of these places where you actually check to see what's there on top of the natural cliff. But yeah, he's like, yeah, I'll kill your Marines. Like, I know what I can beat with these Mutas. Okay, oh, drops one.
Yeah, I already lost a Muta, almost losing the second Mutalisk. I don't think that is what Hydra was hoping for. He would have loved to fly in there and see that the missile turrets weren't up yet, but Polt did exactly what I thought he would do. You know, you throw up 2 turrets in the mineral lines and then 1 on top of the production. And then, yeah, losing a couple of Marines, that's absolutely no big deal. You want to lose those Marines, you just don't want to lose your SCVs. And especially if you can trade them for a Mutalisk here or there, well, that would be amazing.
Yeah, now Polt's production is really starting to kick off with a lot of these Marines. These Widow Mines still dangerously position to catch anything that comes over. I like that he parks just 1 Ling there. He's like, okay, at least I know if you step out of your base where you'll be, Stim is ready. So once these medevacs start to come out and the first 2 are done, he can push out and he can try to test the water a bit. There's not a lot. There's not a lot out front of his base. Just 11 Lings and 5 Mutas on the map.
Yeah, I guess the nice thing for Hydra that these quick Mutalisks will allow him is that he will be able to keep his Overlords around or alive around his base, where normally Polt has that annoying Viking shooting away those Overlords and then clearing the skies for his upcoming medevac drops. That's actually not possible, because if we would do that right now, the Mutalisk would just pick up that Viking.
Yep, as soon as the Viking runs in an Overlord Hydra, in fact, I think he just saw it. It flew over one of his Zerglings on the east side of the map. So the Mutalisks are already on the hunt for that Viking, and they might just barely miss him. As, yep, oof. Dangerous game to be playing.
No, there's no Overlord to be found anyway on the right top side or on the top side of
this
map.
Viking's just kind of going.
Man, Hydra really wants it.
Yeah, oh, he fans the Mutas out a little bit, and he does find it. That's very, very nice. If he ever gets into a situation where his Mutalisks are distracted or necessary to defend, you know, that Viking's not going to be able to deny those so important Overlord scouts.
Well, that even on supply right now. Hydra has a few more workers, but of course there is triple orbital command for Polt, and Polt is ahead when it comes to upgrades as well. Already firing up 2-2. 1-1 is not done yet for Hydra. His +1 attack is going to finish up soon though. Overall, I still like Polt's position, but in the end of the day, it will come down to the engagement, it will come down to Widowmine shots, and above all, you know, the Baneling connections that Hydra is hoping for.
Yep, Polt is going to try to bring this first push forward. Terran versus Zerg is oftentimes about denying the 4th base. However, on this map, it's actually quite tricky, so it's more so about getting the drops in on Catalina. And I don't think that making a direct push towards that 4th is going to be anywhere close to easy. He's going to try to use a medevac drop to deny that base while keeping the army busy by the natural valley area in order to buy time for that drop to get the cancel.
Yep, I love all the Widow Mines scattered around the middle of the map. You remember this one game that we casted off Polt a long time ago? I think it was in a Red Bull event.
I think it was on Overgrowth. We had like 30-some mines fanned out. Yeah, that was pretty sick. The Banelings come in.
Oh my! Ooh, well, that could have been so much worse for Hydra. The mine actually shot on the Overseer. I think it splashed on maybe 1 or 2 Banes, but not more than that. Good drop over here on the top side of the map, and this is why Catalina is such a great Terran map. There is no way that Hydra can have eyes everywhere on every single direction that these medevacs can come from. It's just impossible.
Yeah, you know, in all honesty, he killed the Polt Viking. I think fanning out a few more of his Overlords would do him a lot of good if he could just keep at least some tabs, even if the Overlord dies, just to see that drop land. He needs to get that 4th base up. Winning ZvT in this situation is very difficult. We have a Zerg who's behind on supply against the Terran, who's going to finish his +2 upgrades earlier, and I believe he's not quite yet on his way to Drilling Claws, but he is getting Thors out.
Yeah, I mean, Polt's supply has just skyrocketed. They were dead even on 118, and look at it right now, Nate. 196 against 156. You know, Hydra's going to have to get some phenomenal Baneling connections, or he wants to sacrifice all his creep. That's a good shot right there. A couple of Banelings do connect with a reasonable amount of Marines, but there are so many Widow Mines in his army.
And he's running in the mines and not actually detonated on anything terribly significant at this point, so Hydra's able to continue pressing forward, and now he's making another move. The Mutalisk is going to take some big shots from the Thors, and yes, the Banelings have died, so Polt able to hold strong. His drop was stopped at the 4th base, but Polt has a lot left over to try to make another attack with.
Yep, 2-2 is not ready yet for Hydra, so these are definitely the moments that Polt wants to push the issue a little further. You know, at least clean up the creep, maybe get a couple of free Banelings that are morphing a little too close to the army. During all this, Polt, of course, is getting a 4th command center as well.
Yeah, I mean, the +2 attack is just completed now for Hydra, so these Lings become a little bit more useful against this force. Most importantly, he should be able to escape with his medevacs, and now can you retreat to those mines, like you said, Roddy?
Yep, well, that's actually not the shots he was hoping for. There's
He's actually starting to lose some medevacs here, too.
But I mean, he's still up in supply. Another Tor has joined the army as well, and that is very important. There is a lot of HP that Hydra can't and does not want to deal with. So now Polt can move forward again, and this time there is no launch pad anymore. All of this creep is slowly but steady starting to disappear, and that's going to make it so much harder for Hydra to get those baning connections that he's hoping for.
And this is really tricky. Polt is going to plant down his 4th command center. He's going to turn it into a planetary, lock it down with missile turrets, and Hydra trying to deal with this army moves in, and these middle mines get some massive shots. Okay, good job baiting those. He's going to continue to push Polt back as far as he can, but there are even more Widow Mines ready. Oh, hits a Muta and a dozen Banelings to boot.
I think it's so cool that he dropped those units on the high ground as well. Made it impossible for the Zerglings and Banelings to ever get close to it. And the Muta count was not high enough to idle above that army. So that was a very cool move for Polt.
That was a great bait by Hydra. He's got a bunch of Banelings rolling over towards the 3rd base, but the the supply depots are in position to force him to roll all the way around or deal with that bunker. I do like baiting out that mine, but Polt knows that if Hydra doesn't have a saturated 4th, which Hydra doesn't, he's in a tough spot. Banelings will get on these SCVs, though. Not really killing too many.
That was phenomenal by Polt. He even evacuated all those Marines as well.
3 SCVs. I don't know how he did that.
Me neither. That made no sense, but that was awesome to see. I saw Hydra moving his Mulilist to the top side of the map as well, worried about drops that could be from the right side. I do agree with you that he should probably get a couple of Overlords. That was a very unfortunate Widow Mine shot, but these Marines, man, that one guy, he's seen terrible things, Nate, but he's been holding down the fort.
Yeah, he's hanging in there. And Polt is getting ready to move in. Once again, Hydra has that 4th base, but this is where Catalina comes into play again. The Mutalisks have to be pulled back to deal with the drop.
Just yet.
Oh, so he's going to try to lock down. He's going to try to deny this 4th base, but he's got a massive army on his front door to deal with. And you know what he doesn't have, Roddy? He doesn't have any Banelings on the map. Bunch of Marines running into the natural. There is nothing that can stop these as 3-3 is close to completing. The Mutalisks
can't fight that.
Yeah, they can't deal with this. GG is called. Polt ties the series 1 apiece. And I think very, very well played by him. He needed this. This was his map to make it happen. But it's only going to get tougher from here, Roddy.
Yeah, pretty awesome game. Didn't start off all that phenomenal for Polt, where he was forced to cancel his command center, but he rebuilt it and immediately got that 2nd command center in his main base as well. Hydra aiming for that 2-base Mutalist play just took a little too much economic damage, losing a few more queens than he was probably hoping for as well. And by the time that he finally got his Mutalist out, Polt was ready for it. And maybe he lost 2 or 3 SCVs that were mining gas, but other than that, he took 0 damage from that Mutalist harass. And from that point on, Polt just had a superior economy. It was still close though. He still had to work hard for it because it's never easy against someone like Hydra. But Polt didn't make mistakes. I love the way that he spread his Widow Mines throughout, the middle of the map. That one drop as well, that one key drop that he made, that canceled the 4 the first time, I feel was massive.
Yeah, that's a situation that's really tricky because Hydra should have felt very good after the way that game started. There are very few Terrans who will TVZ as a thing when you have your natural expansion denied by a couple of Zerglings. That is one of the worst feelings, bar none, that you get in that matchup.
I've seen you leave games on ladder when it happens, Nate.
Yeah, it's very, very difficult to recover from, Roddy. And, there's a reason, of course, why Polt is a multiple-time WCS America champion, and a reason why he's a champion for many tournaments in his own right, because he's able to recover from situations like that. And like you said, the follow-up that Hydra chose to go for was just not... It was actually, you really think about it, it was one of the worst things that he could have done because Polt didn't need a whole lot of units to defend. He just needed some very, very well-placed static defense and then, 2 Widow Mines to deny most of what those Mutalisks tried to do.
A single Viking and a handful of Marines was enough because he was completely okay with trading Marines in that phase in the game, because as long as you don't lose any economy and you're still riding out your economic advantage, there we go. It's been a long day of StarCraft already. You will be fine, and Polt knew that he was going to be fine.
Yeah, and a very well-played game by the CM Storm Terran players. We move into game number 3. This one decides who goes out in first place and who will play against Firecake. In the top position of Vani Research Station, we have the Root Gaming Zerg player, Hydra.
And over here on the south side of Vani, we have our 2-time WCS America champ and the man who has won so much more. It is Polt.
Yeah, Polt definitely had a solid set of performances in his tournaments last year, playing in the foreign circuit, even in competing at that same Battlegrounds Global that we were talking about meeting Hydra at.
Yep. Yeah, he was there as well. One of the only non.
It was just him and MMA
Yeah.
against a bunch of Zergs.
Yeah, on a very rough map pool. That was a dark weekend for the Terran players. It was a pretty cool tournament though. But yeah, we've seen a lot of Polt. We've casted probably more games of Polt in 2014 than of any other player. But he's had great runs. He didn't really get the same amount of championships that he got in 2013, which was just a ridiculous year for Polt. But he had so many deep runs. He had so many second places as well. And he did, of course, get that one big victory in Detroit over Tasia, 3-0 even in the final.
Yeah, he had a lot of good runs, and I think the only other Terran player we probably saw as much of him last year would have been Bomber.
Yeah.
But for Vonnie Research Station, Polt, we talked about the drop play. A lot of Zerg players that have been interviewed today, when asked about strategies or things done on this map, often comes down to how easy it is to hit that natural expansion, be it with Banshees, Warp Prisms, drops, or at least Medevac drops. But this is it's something that makes things quite complicated for the early game. And then other Zergs I've spoken to are like, well, this game gets amazing if you don't die to those, because then Mutalisks make dealing with that for the Terran player equally difficult.
Now, we saw Hydra struggle a little bit on this map against Moro in his round of 32 matchup, but I still don't really want to go too far into that, because I felt that in the first series, Hydra was perhaps finally getting a little bit of pressure. Maybe he was nervous about the fact that, you know, this is it. This is the tournament that he moved toward, to the other side of the world, to the other side of the Atlantic. No, Pacific, excuse me. I do know my oceans. To the other side of the Pacific to compete in this region, and then perhaps it was just getting a little too much for him, because he didn't look like his regular self in that first series. But over the last few weeks, I've seen him play plenty of good games on this map as well, and this should really cater a little more to his style. Counterattack still possible, I would say, on this map as well.
Yeah, this is a very long map, and it's, you know, more on the narrow side of things. We've seen some Zergs pull out swarm hosts against Bio mostly exclusively on this map, I guess, except unless you're Fire Cake, in which case you go swarm hosts any map. But Polt runs this Reaper up. He's looking to see if there's anything that he can do. He's got a lot of surface area to work with, and he's still going to open up 3 Reapers because he likes it, Roddy.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it went very well for him on Catalina. I think even in the first game, it could have gone reasonably well. And overall, Polt has been having quite a bit of success with it. So why not? Maybe get a cheeky drone kill or 2.
Yeah, the best thing about 3 Reaper is that when you, even if you don't kill any drones at the start with just the Reapers, if you soften up those queens, once you get your Hellions out, you just let the Reapers soak up all that damage, and the Hellions, then you don't need to send them back to be repaired. You just chill right outside their base, wait for the Reapers to regenerate, and then you just always micro your Hellions behind the Reapers and let them just, you know, be the bodyguards.
And of course, you force out a couple of Zerglings as well. Maybe it's not, you know, like it's not crazy effective, but it does slow the Zerg down a little bit. He gets a drone kill, Knight. Yeah. There you go. Yeah. Chicky, Calaris.
It opens up the door for things like this to happen, and that's one of the reasons why lots of Terran players like him. If the Zerg player makes any mistakes controlling those drones, trying to hide them, controlling their Zerglings, they will lose them, because Polt's not going to make the average slip up. Okay, he's not going to pull a me and just run his Reaper straight into the Queens and be like, well, guess I'm just going to sit back, build 3 command centers, and be behind for a while.
Would have been awesome for Polt if he was able to get a snipe on that creep tumor, but that was not going to happen. It's a little bit risky though to drop creep tumors when there are 3 Reapers so close, because the last thing you want, like Queen energy in this phase in the game, is pretty damn precious. You know, you don't want to mess around with it. You don't want to just waste it. But Hydra was able to get that tumor down, so it will work out.
I think against 3 Reapers, it's never bad, since you can even push.
No, I just meant that he dropped it so close to the Reapers. Like, I think it's awesome. I think it's great to spread creep, of course. I was just worried that it might get picked off.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's something that a lot of Terran players try to target in this early phase, as if you can't get creep by that 3rd base quickly. You know, it's not that far of a 3rd base from the main ramp, but if you can't get there fast enough and these Hellions and Reapers really soften it up, then things like that follow-up push that we've seen twice from Polt now with the Hellion and the Hellbats, that actually does a really good job of killing stuff like this.
Well, Polt is going to soften up this hatchery just a little bit, but he should not be able to get a kill on it anytime soon. On the other side of the map, everything looked the same for Polt, the exact same way as the opening game number 1 and game number 2.
Lings, he's swinging around. He's trying to catch him here, running through the foliage, and he won't lose anything. Takes some real damage on those Hellions, though. And he gets right back to work on this hatchery, basically saying, yeah, build more Lings. Come out. Come try to chase me.
The foliage, Nate.
Yeah.
Today I learned.
Yeah, he's, you know.
To me, it's just a side blocker or grass.
I mean, just foliage is just a fancy word for grass sometimes. It's okay.
I like it, Nate. I'm going to keep it.
He's going to go into Banshees behind this, too. And I will say the one difference is we don't have an armory this time around. The Spire play makes a lot of sense. I actually really like that he's just going to throw 1 Reaper in here. He wants to know what's up. He wants to scout. And I think with this Reaper, he should be able to see that Spire, which is a very, very nice thing to spot for Polt.
Yeah, there are no evolution chambers yet on the map, so Polt will also know, like, hey, that Spire is a little bit quicker than Zerk, who would have invested into 1-1 upgrades before relying on that. So Polt knows exactly what's up. Of course, would love to get a couple of drone kills, but he doesn't want to give away all of his map control either, so you want to be careful. Don't just suicide him if there isn't anything juicy to kill.
Yeah, and this is actually kind of interesting because he moves up, he's going to burn out one of the transfuses, almost gets an active tumor with the splash, but Hydra really likes to play with these later Baneling nests. We've seen that in pretty much every game that he's played in this series so far. It was one of the things a lot of players talked about at Gfinity. It's probably why Polt picked builds with Hellbats for the first 2 games, but this is one of those games where if he had gone Hellbats again, it might have actually done a lot of damage, but he still has the potential to use these Hellions to buffer for that Banshee to get a lot of kills too.
The Queen count is quite high over here. Polt has to be very careful. The Banshee already took a lot of hits as well. He would have, of course, loved to be able to pick up a Queen before, and then he could have just focused the high-energy Queen right now, and then everything could have snowballed. But Hydra saved his Queen before with that one transfuse.
Oh my goodness.
And this time he was not going to lose the Queen that was high on energy, and that is very frustrating.
Just notice Polt's been at 73 out of 73 supply for like the last 20 seconds of this game. He's now just started 2 depots, so he's going to have to use he actually burns a call down supply, so he loses one of his mules to get unblocked. This third base is denied a bit. So Polt and all that action that was happening over there gets a little bit caught up, actually, slows himself down just a wee bit. Those barracks inactive for a good few seconds.
And Banshee didn't really achieve anything and is getting picked up by the Mutalisk over here on the left top side of the map. So from this point on, Hydra is going to contest some of that map control that Polt has been having for the last few minutes, and he's already going up to 4 bases immediately. He doesn't even hesitate once, Nate. He's just going to drop this hatchery, and we'll see if I can defend it or not. And I think he's actually going to be able to defend it for a very long time because of a few minor things that have happened in this game. Also, that supply block that you just mentioned.
Yeah, it cuts out a good couple of units that he could have had. The Hellions actually get hit by these mutas. These Hellions are very important since these are going to become his Hellbats later on to help soak up a lot of those Zergling hits. And without any Banelings on the map, having Hellbats in your composition is very, very nice, because as nice as it is to get the fast mutas, the late Baneliness means a late Baneling speed.
This is not a good game so far for Polt, other than that early drone kill. He didn't really get anything done with any of the units he had so far. Has been a little bit sloppy on this side of the map. This reactor is very exposed, and he just picks it off like that. Man, that's a massive pick-off too, because now Polt has to choose whether or not he wants to rebuild that reactor, and if he does, that means no medevacs for a while.
Yeah, that's a very, very big loss for Polt, as that was denied. He has...
Hey, he's getting a second factory.
Yeah, another factory. He's going to move into Thor's to move behind this. He's actually getting that before his extra barracks, right, Roddy? So he really wants to focus on the Widowmine play. We actually saw him do this in one of his games against Firecake so that he could push faster by having more Widowmines to fall back behind. But Hydra's just pumping out a crazy number of Zerglings, and I will say there's that upgrade advantage that makes things very tricky for Hydra if he takes a head-on fight without the Banelings.
That is, of course, true, but he's on 88 drones. I just feel that from this point on, he can produce Zerglings and Banelings for days. He has quite a bit of creep threat as well. I like that he's already trying to get a couple of Zerglings to the left bottom side of the map, even though they will all get picked off relatively easily. I think this is going to be incredibly difficult for Polt to break.
This is so much easier for Hydra to deal with because he has that 4th base. On Catalina, he never got drones mining there. And by the time that he even finished the base, he was taking drops in his main again. Right now, he can just fight with the full brunt of his force against Polt in these mines.
Brutal.
Now, they clean up a lot of lings. He does keep the Banelings alive, though. The most important part here, Polt has not yet started a 4th command center, and this means that there's a timer on. Until he starts that 4th, he's going to slowly fall behind.
Where's Yost here? Hydra? Okay. I was getting a little bit worried over there. It was just a matter of time. I believe he left one mine over there on the left side. That's kind of funny, because he's inside of that spike roller pretty much. Oh my god, I have the feeling that
come back to bite him.
It's destined for greatness. That's what it is.
But to keep our eyes on that mine, already has 6 kills. He's a corporal, and Fueling's running a range. Not detonating yet. The tension grows. He's going to try to step forward towards this creep. The army immediately pulls him over. He's like, there's no mines underneath this. I'm feeling good. Everything's looking fresh. The dream.
Okay, that could have been so much worse.
Another 6 kills. It was almost really awesome. Here, Terran.
We put too much pressure on that mine.
Well, you have 52 Lings in production. Hydra wants to max out and get an absurd number of forces to deal with all the aggression that Polt's trying to bring. This drop is going to immediately be swarmed.
That's very nice, because that's the first time that Hydra did not have his Mutalisk on the right side of the map, and right when he actually moves his Mutas away, Polt tries to sneak in, but a single medevac drop is just not scary enough.
Yeah, and this is a great pickup. 10 supply drops out of the sky as these Lings and Banes step forward. Polt's on creep. A lot of those Marines up front waiting for some Widowmine detonations. He's trying to target, but it's actually not hitting anything. He's just hitting a couple of Lings. The Banelings are still alive. He manages to wrap around this army, and the only thing that's nice for Polt is that these Mutalisks aren't here yet, but they're coming, Roddy.
Yeah, he's going to have to boost away. Polt lost a lot of his forces.
No.
Oh, God. He's going to lose one of the full medevacs as well. Might even end up losing the medevac that's carrying the Tor. It's getting very close. He can drop it right now. Drops it on the wrong side of the wall.
Okay, he takes a couple big hits against those
Look
Mutalisks.
at the supply, Nate. Like, Hydra's maxed out. He's so rich. He's been squeezing out so many units. He's been on 88, 87 workers for the last 5-6 minutes of this game.
Yeah, Hydra's just going to try to punch it in here, man. There's no Widowmines defensively postured. He's just going to run all the Lings and Banes right through the Thors, right into the Marines. And, you know, Polt's actually soaked up a lot of hits with those Thors. He's gotten a lot of damage on the Mutalisks, but Hydra's continuing to churn out an amazing number of Zerg forces behind all of this, streaming across the map in blue.
You remember Moro's words? That's a whole lot of Zerg. I think that's exactly what Polt is feeling right now. That is a lot of Zerg. He's going to raise the depots. That's a nice little move, forcing the Banelings to detonate. But those Banelings connect with the Marines as well. And I think from this point on, it's Lings dancing here natural.
I love that he contaminates whatever production structures he can. 3 barracks rendered inoperable as Lings flood through the main base. Hydra takes 100 supply lead over Polt. He wants to go out of this group in first place. He will. Hydra wins. GG. 2-1 over Captain America.
That was an adorable fist bump. Did you see? He's like, yeah, oh, maybe I should. Yeah, I can do that.
Like, gotta be polite. I'm friends with Polt. We rode on the train together.
But a small little fist bump that's absolutely, acceptable over there. Great series by Hydra, despite dropping Catalina. I felt overall it was a very convincing series by him. And he showed us once more, Nate, why we've been hyping him for a while. And of course, that doesn't make us the oracles of StarCraft 2, because we're hyping a former Pro League Zerg that's moving on to the Western region. But he's so damn good.
And the best way to put it, Roddy, is that he shows, once again, he is a force to be reckoned with here at the World Championship Series round of 16. A very important victory, as Polt is pegged as one of the only other players that could actually take the title aside from him in 4GG.
I can't believe that you just quoted me while I'm sitting next to you.
We have an interview with the winner on stage. We're going to hear from Hydra and Smix.
Thank you very much, Nathanius. What a phenomenal series. Congratulations, Hydra, on your victory over Captain America. That puts you at 13th in WCS rankings, and that is your second top 8 finish in a week. It's very, very, very impressive. Now, going into that game with Polt, you just defeated one of your toughest opponents in WCS. At Gfinity, you defeated Heart and Fantasy. You're very successful in Zerg versus Terran lately. Why is that?
Yeah, I think I have many confidence against Terran because I'm very good against Helvet, I think. Helvet push, so yeah, it's very good for Zerg, I think.
Well, you just defeated Polt, and going into the round of 8, there will still be a lot of tough opponents for you. Is there anybody that you're worried about? Maybe potentially 4GG's Terran versus Zerg, or maybe Snoot's Zerg versus Zerg. Is there anyone?
No, anyone.
Super confident words from Hydra. Well, you just got top 8 here at WCS, second at Gfinity last week, doing extremely well lately. What would it mean for you to continue to do well here at WCS and potentially win the whole thing?
It's very happy to came here for meet a lot of friends and game in the fantastic stage. Yeah, and I really hope I will win this tournament.
All right, well, thank you very much, Hydra. Congratulations again on making it to the quarterfinals. He will be our 5th quarterfinalist of the day. We'll see who will join him out of this group. But until then, let's head back to the desk of the panel.
Thank you very much, Smix. Congratulations, Hydra. 2 top 8s within a week. Very, very impressive. And that's not the end of him. He will compete in the bracket to hopefully have a shot at the semi-final, and if not, that trophy, which he walked past, and it looked like he already owned it.
Yeah.
He walked out there, yeah, he looked to be a good look.
He's definitely having a good look at that trophy. And he's looking dominant
he is.
In these games. A nice little Roach Bane at the start of the first game to start it off there, showing that he can mix it up a bit.
Yeah.
And then in the next game, you know, it was Catalina, he took a bit of damage on the Reapers, didn't go that well. But last game, just showing how good he is mechanically. The creep spread was crazy. He shut down the Hellbat Harass. He said that's something he's good against as well.
Yeah.
So thinking about the top players in this tournament, Hydra, Polt, 4GG, some of the top contenders, if he can shut down Hellbat Harass, he can shut down 4GG.
They both finished first.
You said it.
They both finished first in their group, so they can't meet in the round of 8.
I'm thinking further on, Todd.
He's thinking final.
I'm already in the finals.
Mr. Kim, what are your thoughts on that series? You watched all of it. You sat here with both of these, talking through it.
Yeah, I think we all kind of expected really standard games from both these players, and then the first game wasn't very standard. So I think Polt still has a chance if he runs into him again in the later rounds.
Yeah.
And just watching the whole thing, I kind of thought the same thing as Fenner. Like I wonder what would happen if he meets 4GG in later rounds. I wonder how those games will go.
All right, you're here, you're up here. There's no way I'm not going to ask these type of questions. Hellbat pushes are the most popular way to play Terran versus Zerg right now. Hellbat pushes, Marine drops, Hellbat pushes with Banshees or not, all the time. Why do you credit this to, and why has this happened? Because it used to be popular, then it came back again, and now it's starting to maybe fade away with Hydra and the likes pushing it back. When you're looking at that, what is your thought process?
So for us, it's less about why something is happening, but it's more about what's happening now, and is that a good thing? And in terms of all these pushes that you're talking about, because it creates more action, it's just more fun to watch those games. So I think it's a good thing, and the reasons why, I think that's up to you guys.
All right, well, it throws it right back at us. Luckily for me, I'm just the host, so I'm the dumb one over here. So Todd, we
switch your shoes.
I know, put my expert shoes back on. But a cool series. Think Hydra can go all the way?
I think so. That was pretty impressive, even though he lost the map. Pretty nice play overall by him. You know, the Catalina still don't understand.
Yeah.
That's where I predicted he would play like something special, but in the end it was in the first game. Maybe he mixed up the maps. It was in map 2 that you were supposed to all in.
I mean, something interesting he did, and he did this against Morrow as well, he opens with a pull first, and then he goes for 6 lings, and he cancels the command center. That is something he does do on Catalina, but it's still a difficult map for Zerg, so I can't really get behind it.
Yeah, I agree with David as well. If we were to see these two meet again, Polt is a player that adapts very well, and I'm sure we'll see that if they do meet. But here is the bracket confirmed. Hydra is first place of Group C. He gains those extra WCS points, and as Smick said, is now ranked 13th in the world in WCS. He climbed into top 16 by making it into the round of 16 part of the tournament here. Congratulations to him. But the next game is going to be the match which Firecake probably didn't want out of the two he could have had. Polt versus Firecake. Guys, we'll talk about this in a little bit. David, thank you very much for joining me. Tomorrow, you are going to join us again, and we're going to have a proper good interview about Legacy. We're going to talk Legacy. To maybe talk some Heart of the Swarm again, but more about Legacy. So
sounds good.
Excited. I've got some very good questions for you.
Cool.
Hopefully hit the ones that the community want to hear about as well.
Cool, thank you.
I'll be looking forward to seeing you tomorrow. All right, thank you very much, David Kim. And now for us at the World Championship Series here, it's time to get ready for the decider match as France must take on Korea in a big game. Elimination time. One of these players is going home. Which one will it be? We'll be right back.